Just a few minutes left in hour one of Implicit Bias Radio for this week. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. We're playing musical chairs in the Mr. Lester's top secret podcast lair, the TSPL for the uninitiated, and we are wrapping up a really fun conversation. I'm going to introduce you to everybody here in the TSPL in just a minute, but we got to complete a thought from the last segment. So the conversation was centered around the United States Agency for International Development. And the question was, well, why are so many people saying that this is the CIA's slush fund? Look, I'm sure there was some money paid out of the $20 million for Iraqi Sesame Street, or the $6 million for sex change surgeries in Guatemala, or the $42 million paid out for the study of how ballpoint pens affect the LGBTQ community in Botswana. I mean, I'm sure some of the money actually went to those things. But all of those resources that the CIA uses internationally, they have to get paid. And they can't just come from the CIA. Because if they did, well, it's a sure way to know that that person works for the CIA. So let me tell you a little story about a book called CIAS. It was a really fun conversation, great book. It's actually written about the Manson murders in 1969 in California. Well, what the author found out was that the research fellow who was running the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic was running it off of a grant from the U.S. government. And his handler, the person who was his contact person on how he was going to get paid, anybody want to take a guess who that person worked for? Anybody?
Wait, was that wasn't Hunter Biden, huh?
No. We're talking 1969.
Oh, 1969. Woo,
yeah,
missed that one.
Yeah. It's okay.
That's okay. I switched shares.
Yeah. No. What organization, Caleb? You got to remember, Caleb, you got to put the microphone. What organization did the person who was running, and how did they get paid? How did they get set up? Where did they get the money from to run the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic?
Would it be funneled through the CIA?
So the CIA was the person who was the point of contact.
Yeah.
The money came through a federal grant somewhere else in the U.S. government.
Well, it'd be the USAID, I'm sure.
I'm not sure that payment came directly from the USAID. That I don't know. But what I know is that there were professors who were getting paid grants and reporting to the CIA. There were fellows, like these people who were, I'm a political fellow from Hopkins University. No, you're a CIA agent. That's what you're doing. You're reporting to a handle.
Not an agent, an operative. There's a difference.
Right? And the fun part is the people who work for the CIA even have aliases, and this is how they create the spider web. So if you've been on social media and you have seen these spider webs of money came from USAID to this entity pays that entity pays this entity, they funnel it through a bunch of different entities in order to disguise the true root source of the funding. There's a legal term for that. And I believe it's used by the IRS.
Well, it's also used in the clothing industry because you take your clothes to a laundromat.
Correct.
To do the laundry.
This is the little secret that nobody wants to talk about right now. Because it's all about funneling money, not even funneling money, because a funnel just brings it to one central point. This is about creating a sieve for money. So you sift it through one layer, then you sift it through another, then you sift it through a third, a fourth, and a fifth, and you never really know where the money comes from. But trust me, there are people with their fingers on it. And this is why we are now getting emails and we are hearing about things like, and again, veracity of this, sometimes we have to pause, but celebrities getting paid to make appearances, right? It's all being sieved or laundered through different organizations.
Well, Beyonce, that's just not true.
Well, we know Beyonce got paid because that apparently came direct from the campaign. I mean, let's face it. You and I both know that Cackles McCackleberry over there wouldn't be smart enough to actually launder it. She just thinks she's not going to get caught.
But there's ways to hide it. And look, can we call it money like colandering?
Colandering. Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to use that term properly right now.
Yeah, it's like draining money. That's basically what it is. And that's the little secret. That's the one thing as we look through all of this and the lens that we have to learn and adopt. We have to adopt that lens of, okay, so the stuff that's blatant, that's easy to see. What are they funneling from one organization to another, to another, to another? Because that's where it gets really interesting.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Just because I'm not always up to date with everything. Did this all just start 4 years ago when Biden came in, or what? How did Trump not see this the first time?
So it's a fantastic question, number one.
Okay.
I love the question because it is a nuance to this, and it's something that everybody has looked up and said, well, Trump should have known this the first time.
That's what I'm curious. And look, I mean,
no, and this is maybe the beauty of the situation. The beauty of the situation is this. Was this happening in Trump's first term? Hell yeah, it was happening.
Yeah.
Was this happening in Obama's first and second term? Oh, hell yeah. Was this happening in Bush's terms? Yeah. Was this happening in Clinton's term? Oh, yeah. Was this happening in... Oh, yeah. This was happening through all of them. And in hour two, because Walker, I'm going to... That finger... But in hour two, we're going to talk exactly in depth about what now the deep state really is and how even if you're the president, it's possible to hide this stuff from you. We will cover that. In order to get into that conversation, your humble host needs a heck of a lot more weekly whiskey. We'll talk about more weekly whiskeys. We'll go back to the bar. We'll get the crew involved. We're going to cut Walker out right after this on Implicit Bias Radio.